The alarm sounds echoed through the massive council station. Red lights flashed as hundreds of alien beings ran to their control panels. Something terrible was happening at the edge of their galaxy. "What is that?" shouted Council Leader Zextar, his four eyes wide with fear. On the giant screen before them, a burning ship spun out of control near the galactic barrier. The ship was huge, bigger than a moon. Its metal hull glowed red-hot. Strange energy waves came off it like lightning. Then, without warning, it exploded. The blast was so bright that every being in the control room had to cover their eyes. "The readings are impossible," whispered Science Officer Velna, her tentacles shaking as she checked her instruments. "The energy levels, they broke all our measuring tools." Council Leader Zexitar walked slowly to the big viewing window. Beyond it lay the Forbidden Zone. For 10,000 years, no one had returned from there. It was the one place in the galaxy that even the mighty Council feared. "Send a message to all ships," he said in a deep voice. "Stay away from the barrier. The ancient warnings are still true." The other council members nodded. They all knew the old stories. Long ago, their ancestors had tried to cross the galactic barrier. Every ship that went there was destroyed. Every crew that entered never came back. The few messages they received before losing contact always said the same thing. "Something is watching us." "Sir," called out Communications Officer Thrick, "we have a new ship requesting permission to dock." "Not now," Zextar said, still staring at the barrier. "We have bigger problems." "Sir, they say they are humans." The entire control room went quiet. Humans were the newest species to join the galactic community. They had arrived only 50 years ago in small, simple ships. Most council members thought they were weak and primitive. "Let them dock at the outer platform," Zextar said, "but keep guards nearby." An hour later, a human captain walked into the council chamber. He was tall and thin, with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. His name was Captain James Chen, and he wore a simple blue uniform. "Greetings, Council Leader," Captain Chen said with a polite bow. "We saw the explosion. Are you okay?" Zextar looked down at the small human. "We are fine. You should worry about your own safety. That ship was destroyed trying to enter the Forbidden Zone." "Forbidden Zone?" Captain Chen asked, tilting his head. "You mean the galactic barrier?" "Yes," Zextar replied. "It is the most dangerous place in our galaxy. No ship that enters ever returns. The energy there destroys everything." Captain Chen nodded slowly. "What kind of energy?" Council member Vorgak laughed, his huge mouth showing sharp teeth. "Humans always ask silly questions. The energy there is death itself. Our ancestors learned this truth 10,000 years ago. But what if there's something beyond it?" Captain Chen asked. "What if the energy is protecting something instead of destroying it?" The council members looked at each other. Such a strange question. Young species always thought they were smarter than their elders. "Listen, human," Zextar said, trying to be patient. "For 10,000 years we have ruled this galaxy in peace. We know every star, every planet, every danger. The barrier exists to keep us safe from whatever lies beyond. Have you ever tried going around it?" Captain Chen asked. Another council member, Hexara, made a sound like laughing. "Around it? Child, the barrier surrounds our entire galaxy. There is no around it." "Actually," Captain Chen said, reaching into his pocket, "there is." He pulled out a small device that glowed with soft white light. The council members had never seen anything like it. The energy it gave off was strange, almost alive. "What is that?" Velna asked, her instruments beeping wildly. "This is from beyond your barrier," Captain Chen said calmly. "We found it 50 years ago." The control room fell silent. Even the computer sounds seemed to stop. Zextar's four eyes stared at the human in disbelief. "Impossible," he whispered. "We've been there before." Captain Chen continued, putting the device back in his pocket. "We know what's beyond the barrier. We know why it exists, and we know what's coming back." He looked around the room at all the shocked alien faces. "Want to see what we found?" 50 years ago, Captain Chen began, his voice quiet in the shocked council chamber. "We were just exploring our new galaxy. We had no idea about your rules or warnings." The council members leaned forward. Even proud Zextar wanted to hear this impossible story. "Computer, show them," Captain Chen said. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a small human ship floating in space 50 years ago. The ship looked tiny and weak compared to Council vessels. This was the exploration ship Pioneer, Captain Chen explained. Captain Sarah Martinez was in command. They were mapping the outer edges of the galaxy. In the hologram, they watched the human ship approach the galactic barrier. The barrier looked like a wall of pure energy, stretching as far as the eye could see. Lightning danced across its surface. "My God," whispered Captain Martinez in the recording. "It's beautiful and terrifying." "Captain," called her science officer, "the energy readings are off the charts. This barrier is ancient, maybe millions of years old." The council members watched in amazement. These primitive humans had instruments that could read the barrier's age. Even council science could not do that. "What did they do next?" asked Velna, her tentacles curled with worry. Captain Chen smiled. "They did what humans always do when told something is impossible. They found another way." In the hologram, Captain Martinez was talking to her crew. "We can't go through it. Every species that tried was destroyed. But what if we don't go through it?" "What do you mean, Captain?" her pilot asked. "Look at your star maps," Martinez said. "The barrier curves around our galaxy, but it has to end somewhere. What if we follow it to its edge?" Council leader Zextar's 4 eyes went wide. "They tried to go around, but the barrier stretches for light years." 3 months, Captain Chen said simply. "It took them 3 months to reach the edge. But they found it." The hologram changed. Now it showed the human ship at the very rim of the barrier. Here, the energy wall finally ended. Beyond it was empty space filled with strange stars. "The first humans to see beyond our galaxy," Captain Chen said with pride. "Impossible," Hexara growled. "Our ancestors tried everything. There is no way around the barrier." "Your ancestors tried to break through," Captain Chen replied. "They never thought to go around. Sometimes the simple answer is the right one." In the hologram, the Pioneer slowly moved past the barrier's edge. For the first time in 10,000 years, someone had entered the space beyond. "Captain," the human science officer said, "I'm reading something out there. Structures, massive ones." The image changed again. Now they could see what the humans had found. Floating in the void were huge ruins, cities as big as moons, ships longer than planets, all of them dark and dead. "By the ancient gods," whispered Vorgak. "What is that place?" "The remains of a civilization older than yours," Captain Chen said. "Much older. The beings who lived here built the barrier." The council chamber filled with worried whispers. If there was a civilization older and more powerful than the council, why had they never heard of it? "The humans landed on one of the dead worlds," Captain Chen continued. "What they found there changed everything." In the hologram, human explorers walked through vast empty halls. The walls were covered with strange writing and pictures. Ancient machines sat silent and dusty. "The writing told a story," Captain Chen said. "A story of war. These ancient beings fought something terrible from outside the galaxy. The barrier wasn't built to keep people out. It was built to keep something else in." "What kind of something?" Zextar asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. "Something that ate worlds. Something that turned living beings into its servants. Something that grew stronger with every planet it destroyed." The council members looked at each other with fear. Such creatures were the stuff of nightmares. "The ancient beings won their war," Captain Chen continued. "But the victory cost them everything. They were dying out. So they built the barrier to protect the younger species that would come after them." "You mean us?" Velna asked. "All of us," Captain Chen nodded. "The barrier has kept the galaxy safe for millions of years." The hologram showed human explorers deeper in the ruins. They found a chamber filled with sleeping machines. Strange lights blinked on ancient control panels. "But the humans found something else in those ruins," Captain Chen said, his voice growing serious. "Something that was still alive." Suddenly, in the hologram, the ancient machines began to glow. A deep voice echoed through the dead halls, speaking in a language older than time. "Finally," the voice said in perfect human English, "someone worthy has arrived." The council chamber fell silent. Everyone stared at the hologram as a massive shadow moved in the ancient chamber. Captain Chen looked around at all the shocked alien faces. That's when everything changed. The hologram in the council chamber grew larger. Ancient lights flickered in the dead ruins as something massive moved in the shadows. The human explorers from 50 years ago stepped back in fear and wonder. "What is that?" whispered Captain Martinez as her team aimed their weapons at the moving shadow. From the darkness came a being unlike anything in the galaxy. It was tall as a mountain made of living light and metal. Its eyes glowed like stars and its voice echoed through time itself. "I am Keeper Zorthak," the ancient being said, "last guardian of the Eternal Watch. I have waited 10 million years for someone to find this place." The council members watching the hologram gasped. 10 million years? Their own civilization was only 10,000 years old. "Guardian of what?" Captain Martinez asked, lowering her weapon. Something about this being felt peaceful, not dangerous. "Guardian of knowledge," Zorthak replied. "Guardian of truth. Guardian of the great protection that keeps your galaxy safe." The ancient being moved closer. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. When it walked, the dead machines around it came back to life. Lights turned on. Ancient computers began to hum. "You are not like the others who tried to break through our barrier," Zorthak said, studying the humans carefully. "They used force. They tried to destroy what they could not understand. But you thought differently." Captain Martinez nodded slowly. "We went around. We didn't try to break anything." "Yes," Zorthak's voice sounded pleased. "For 10 million years, younger species have tried to pierce our barrier with weapons and power. All failed, but you used wisdom instead of strength." In the council chamber, Hexara growled with anger. "Humans are weak. They have no great weapons or armies." Captain Chen looked at the angry alien. "Sometimes being weak makes you think of better solutions." The hologram continued. Zorthak was showing the human explorers ancient wall paintings. The pictures told a story of war and darkness. "Long ago," the Guardian explained, "our people ruled 1,000 galaxies. We were proud and powerful. We thought nothing could challenge us." The pictures showed beautiful worlds full of life and light. Advanced cities floated among the stars. Peace existed everywhere. Then they came. Zorthak's voice grew dark. "The Devourers, creatures from the void between galaxies. They ate worlds and turned living beings into their servants." The wall paintings changed. Now they showed horrible dark creatures consuming planets. Stars went out one by one. Entire civilizations screamed and died. "The war lasted 1,000 years, Zorthak continued. "We won, but the victory destroyed us. Only a few of us remained alive." Council leader Zextar leaned forward. "What happened to the Devourers?" "We banished them to the dark spaces beyond all galaxies," Zorthak said. "But banishment is not death. They wait in the void, growing stronger, planning their return." The Guardian showed the humans more ancient technology. Weapons that could destroy stars. Ships that moved faster than thought. Knowledge that could reshape reality itself. "We built the barrier to protect the new life that would grow in our galaxy," Zorthak explained. "Species like yours, young civilizations that might one day face the same threat we faced." "But why give this to us?" Captain Martinez asked. "Why not the Council? They're older and more powerful." Zorthak's star-bright eyes looked sad. "Power makes beings think they can solve everything with force. But the Devourers cannot be defeated with power alone. They must be outsmarted." The ancient being moved to a wall covered with strange symbols. When he touched it, the symbols began to glow. "Your species thinks differently," Zorthak said to the humans. "You find new ways around old problems. You use wisdom where others use weapons. This is why I choose you." "Choose us for what?" Martinez asked. "To be the new guardians of this galaxy," Zorthak replied. "To protect all life when the Devourers return." The wall opened, revealing a chamber filled with incredible technology. Devices that hummed with power beyond imagination. Knowledge crystals that contained the wisdom of 10 million years. "But the other species," Martinez began. "Will not understand," Zorthak finished. "They will want this power for themselves. They will use it to fight each other instead of protecting everyone." The Guardian moved deeper into the chamber. Ancient machines responded to his presence, lighting up one by one. "I will give you this knowledge," Zorthak said. "But you must promise to use it only to protect others. Never for conquest, never for glory, always for the good of all life." Captain Martinez looked at her crew. They all nodded. They understood the weight of this responsibility. We promise, she said. Zorthak touched her forehead with one glowing finger. Light flowed between them. In that moment, the ancient knowledge entered human minds. Technology beyond their wildest dreams. Science that could reshape the universe. The knowledge will grow with you, Zorthak said. You will understand it as you become ready for it. But remember, the Devourers will return. When they do, you must be ready. The hologram in the council chamber began to fade. But before it disappeared completely, Zorthak looked directly at the watching aliens. The time of return draws near, his voice echoed. The young guardians must reveal themselves. The hologram vanished. The council chamber fell silent. Every alien stared at Captain Chen with new understanding and fear. That was 50 years ago, Captain Chen said quietly. We've been preparing ever since. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed as urgent messages filled the screens. Unknown ships detected at Galaxy's edge, shouted the communications officer. They're not on any of our charts. Zextar's 4 eyes went wide with terror. The Devourers. Captain Chen's face was grim. They've found us. The council station shook as massive ships appeared on every screen. They were black as the void between stars, twisted and wrong in ways that hurt to look at. These were not ships built by any living species. How many? Zextar shouted over the alarms. Thousands, Velna replied, her voice shaking. They're surrounding the entire galaxy. And sir, they're bigger than our largest battle stations. The Devourer ships moved like living creatures. They had no visible engines, yet they glided through space with deadly grace. Dark energy rippled around them like hungry shadows. Send all fleet commanders emergency signals, Zextar ordered. Full military response. Every ship, every weapon. Sir, Communications Officer Threek called out, we're getting strange readings from human space. Multiple energy signatures appearing everywhere at once. Captain Chen stepped forward. That would be our fleet. Before anyone could ask what he meant, human ships began appearing throughout Council space. But these were not the small, simple vessels the Council remembered. These ships gleamed with advanced technology. They moved with impossible speed and grace. How are they doing that? Vorgak demanded. Those ships appeared instantly. Teleportation technology doesn't exist. It does now, Captain Chen said calmly. We've had 50 years to learn from ancient knowledge. On the main screen, they watched human ships taking positions around every council world. The ships were beautiful and strange, covered in patterns that seemed to shift and glow. Impossible, Hexara growled. You were primitives 50 years ago. You had basic metal ships with chemical rockets. We learned fast, Captain Chen replied. We had good teachers. The first Devourer attack began at the Outer Rim. A council patrol fleet met them with full weapons. Laser beams and plasma cannons fired at the dark ships. The weapons hit their targets perfectly. Nothing happened. Report, Zextar shouted. Direct hits, sir, the weapons officer said in disbelief. But no damage. Their shields absorbed everything, the Devourer ships responded. Dark beams shot out like liquid shadow. Where they touched council ships, the metal began to dissolve. Entire vessels melted away like ice in fire. All ships retreat, Zextar ordered. Fall back to defensive positions. But it was too late. The dark beams reached the retreating ships. One by one, the council fleet died. Brave soldiers screamed as their ships turned to dust around them. We're helpless, Velna whispered. Our weapons do nothing. Their weapons destroy everything. Captain Chen watched the slaughter with sad eyes. This is why Zorthak chose us. Your weapons are powerful, but they work by destroying things. The Devourers feed on destruction. Every shot you fire makes them stronger. Then how do we fight them? Zextar demanded. With creation instead of destruction, Captain Chen said. With protection instead of attack. With wisdom instead of war. On the screens, human ships moved toward the Devourers. The aliens watching expected to see another massacre. Instead, they saw something impossible. The human ships didn't fire weapons. Instead, they projected fields of pure light. Where the light touched Devourer ships, the dark creatures screamed. Their twisted hulls began to crack and burn. The ancient knowledge, Captain Chen explained. Light drives back shadow. Life energy hurts creatures that feed on death. A human battleship engaged 3 Devourer vessels at once. The ship moved like a dancer, avoiding dark beams while wrapping its enemies in brilliant energy. The Devourers writhed and burned. By the gods, Zextar breathed. They're winning, but more Devourer ships kept coming. Hundreds became thousands. Thousands became millions. Even with their advanced technology, the humans were outnumbered. Captain Chen, Velna said urgently. There are too many. Your people cannot fight them all alone. We don't intend to fight alone, Captain Chen replied. But we need allies who can think beyond old ways. He turned to face the council. For 10,000 years you've ruled through strength and fear. You've built weapons to destroy your enemies, but these enemies cannot be destroyed by weapons. A human ship on the screen saved a council transport from 3 Devourer attackers. The transport was full of alien families running from the invasion. We've been protecting your people in secret for 50 years, Captain Chen continued, stopping small Devourer scouts before they could reach your worlds, keeping the galaxy safe while you thought you were in charge. The council members looked at each other in shock. All this time they thought they were the guardians of the galaxy, but the real guardians had been working in shadows. Why didn't you tell us? Zextar asked. Would you have believed us? Captain Chen replied. Would you have accepted that primitive humans had become more advanced than you? Or would you have tried to take our technology by force? The uncomfortable silence gave him his answer. This is your choice, Captain Chen said. Continue fighting with old methods and watch your people die, or learn new ways and help us save everyone. On the screen, more council ships exploded under Devourer attacks. But where human ships fought alongside them, using light weapons to protect while aliens focused on evacuation, they succeeded. What do you need from us? Zextar asked, his pride finally breaking. Stop thinking like conquerors, Captain Chen said. Start thinking like protectors. Your weapons can't hurt them, but your ships can carry refugees. Your knowledge can help coordinate rescues. Your people can learn to build instead of destroy. Another wave of Devourer ships approached the station. This time, human vessels moved to intercept them, but the Dark Fleet was massive. Even human technology had limits. There are so many, Vorgak said with fear. Captain Chen nodded grimly. This is just the first wave. The real invasion is still coming. The lights in the council chamber flickered as Devourer ships engaged human protectors nearby. Through the windows they could see the battle raging in space. How many more waves? Zextar asked. Captain Chen's face was grave. According to Zorthak's knowledge, they'll keep coming until they've consumed every living thing in the galaxy. Alarms blared even louder. On every screen, more Devourer ships appeared. The Dark Fleet seemed endless. Or until someone stops them permanently, Captain Chen added quietly. He looked around at the terrified council members. The question is, are you ready to become something more than you've ever been? The space around the council station erupted into the greatest battle the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships danced between massive Devourer vessels, their light weapons carving through shadow and darkness. But for every dark ship destroyed, 10 more appeared. They're endless, Velna cried as her instruments showed more Devourer fleets arriving every minute. Captain Chen stood calmly at the viewing window, watching his people fight impossible odds. No, he said quietly. They have limits. We just have to push past ours. A human cruiser nearby began to glow brighter than a star. Its hull shifted and changed, becoming something that looked more like living light than metal. The ship moved through space in ways that broke every law of physics. What is it doing? Zextar asked in amazement. Becoming something more, Captain Chen replied. The transformed ship reached out with tendrils of pure energy. Where they touched Devourer vessels, the dark creatures didn't just burn. They began to change. Their twisted hulls straightened. Their shadow weapons became beams of light. It's converting them, Vorgak whispered, turning darkness back into light. Across the battlefield, more human ships began the same transformation. They stopped looking like normal vessels and became something beyond any technology the Council had ever imagined. Some looked like giant flowers made of starlight. Others moved like graceful whales swimming through space itself. This is impossible, Hexara said, her voice full of fear and wonder. Ships cannot change their basic structure. Matter cannot become energy at will. The ancient knowledge goes deeper than technology, Captain Chen explained. It touches the very foundations of reality. When you understand the universe completely, you can ask it to work differently. A group of devourer ships surrounded a human vessel. The human ship simply stepped sideways through dimensions, appearing behind its attackers. Its weapons reached across space and time, hitting targets before the dark beams were even fired. "They're moving through time itself," Velna breathed. Captain Chen nodded. "Past, present, and future become meaningless when you know the true nature of existence." But even with their incredible abilities, the humans were still vastly outnumbered. The Devourer main fleet was arriving. Ships the size of small moons, creatures so ancient and powerful they remembered eating the first stars. "Captain," Thrick called out urgently, "massive energy signature approaching. It's bigger than our entire station." Through the viewing window, they saw it. A Devourer ship so huge it blocked out the stars. Its surface crawled with darkness so deep it seemed to eat light itself. This was their queen, their supreme commander. "The heart of hunger," Captain Chen said grimly. "Zorthak warned us about this one. It has devoured 1,000 galaxies." The massive ship began to feed. Streams of dark energy reached out toward every living world in the system. Where they touched, planets began to wither and die. "It's killing everything," Zextar said in horror. "All life in the system is dying." "Not if we stop it," Captain Chen said. He touched a device on his wrist. "All human ships, initiate final protocol." Across the galaxy, every human vessel began to sing. It was not a sound that could be heard, but a vibration that touched the very fabric of space. The song grew stronger as more ships joined in. "What are they doing?" Velner asked. "Becoming one," Captain Chen replied. "Individual ships, individual minds, individual souls, all joining together into something greater." The human ships began to merge. Not physically, but in ways that went beyond matter. Their consciousness combined, their power united, their very existence became shared. From thousands of separate ships, something new was born. A being of pure light and will that stretched across star systems. It had the knowledge of ancient civilizations and the hope of young species combined. "Impossible," Hexara whispered. "They've become a single entity spanning light years." The merged human consciousness faced the heart of hunger. For a moment neither moved. Ancient evil stared at newfound hope across the void. Then the battle began. It was not a fight of weapons or ships. It was a contest of fundamental forces. Creation against destruction, life against death, hope against despair. The heart of hunger struck first, sending waves of pure entropy that could unmake reality itself. But the human consciousness replied with waves of creativity that built new realities to replace the destroyed ones. Where darkness tried to consume, light created more than was lost. Where death tried to spread, life grew stronger and more complex. The battle raged across dimensions that had no names. "They're rewriting the laws of physics," Velna said in amazement as her instruments went crazy. "They're not rewriting them," Captain Chen corrected. "They're showing what the laws really are when you understand them completely." The council members watched as the merged human consciousness began to win. The heart of hunger, for the first time in its billion-year existence, began to retreat. But then something unexpected happened. The human consciousness reached out to the dying creature with compassion instead of conquest. "What are you doing?" the heart of hunger asked, its voice echoing across space. "Offering you a choice," the human consciousness replied. "You don't have to be hunger. You can be something else. I am what I am. I consume. I destroy. It is my nature." "Nature can change," the human said gently. "We know. We used to be destroyers too. We learned to create instead." For a moment that lasted eternities, the heart of hunger considered. In that moment, the council saw something impossible. The ancient creature began to weep tears of pure starlight. I remember," it whispered, "before the hunger, before the darkness. I remember being young." The human consciousness embraced the ancient creature with infinite compassion. Where they touched, the heart of hunger began to transform. Its dark hull became silver. Its hunger became the desire to nurture. Its despair became hope. "It's changing," Zextar said in wonder. "They're healing it instead of destroying it." Across the galaxy, other devourer ships felt their queen's transformation. One by one, they too began to change. The invasion became a healing. The conquest became a reunion. When the transformation was complete, the merged human consciousness gently separated back into individual ships and people. But they were different now. They glowed with wisdom that came from touching the infinite. In the council chamber, a familiar figure materialized. Keeper Zorthak appeared, but he was no longer alone. Beside him stood other ancient guardians, beings who had thought themselves lost forever. "The test is complete," Zorthak said, his voice filled with joy. "Humanity has proven they are ready." "Ready for what?" Zextar asked. "To be the new guardians of not just this galaxy but all galaxies," Zorthak replied. "To spread the lesson they have learned. That creation is stronger than destruction. That healing is better than conquest." The ancient guardian looked at Captain Chen with pride. "We thought guardianship meant fighting evil. You have shown us it means healing it." Captain Chen smiled. "We had good teachers, and now we can teach others." Zorthak turned to the council members. "The galaxy enters a new age, one where wisdom matters more than strength, where different thinking is valued above old traditions. Are you ready to learn?" Looking out at the transformed fleet of former enemies now working together to heal damaged worlds, Zextar slowly nodded. "Yes," he said, "we are ready to become something more." Outside, human ships worked alongside transformed devourers and grateful council vessels, all united in the task of rebuilding what had been lost. The galaxy had found its new guardians, not conquerors but healers. The age of wisdom had begun.